Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thank you very much for tuning in to this edition of eWEEK eSpeaks. And this is a regular series of video interviews that we have with thought leaders in all different sectors of IT. Our interviewee today is Kris Lahiri, who is Chief Security Officer and a co-founder of Egnyte, which is a very interesting company. I've watched them grow up over the years and watch them develop, and they're very impressive. Kris, welcome to eSpeaks.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here. Great to talk to you.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got started with Egnyte and how you got to help found the company.
Yeah, that's a good story. There are four co-founders at Egnyte. We started the company in 2008. We have all overlapped or met each other during our Big 5/Big 6 consulting days, where I was a part of KPMG Consulting, working with Fortune 100 companies, doing very large scale infrastructure. We were all based in Silicon Valley, and that bug was definitely in us to go out and do something by ourselves. So that's sort of the seed of how Egnyte got started.
How does Egnyte's platform work? Is it all cloud-based, or are there options for having it on servers, or what?
Egnyte's primarily a SaaS product, so it is cloud delivered. However, so let me very quickly tell you about Egnyte. Egnyte's actually an intelligent content platform that provides content collaboration with a heavy focus on data governance. What that means is that even while we are providing core collaboration capabilities for working on unstructured data or Word docs or Office docs and other types of documents, we've paid a lot of attention to things like data protection, compliance, and building in governance pretty much in every layer of the product, of this whole collaboration architecture. So in terms of delivery, to answer your question, it's primarily cloud-based. So you could get to Egnyte from a browser, a mobile app, or any kind of a cloud-based solution. However, for a small subset, we've seen that they need something on-prem just for improved reliance or better latencies. And so we do have
regulatory reasons too, right?
Correct, that too. So we do allow for some of this to work on-prem as well.
Okay. How does it work? And just give me a quick rundown of the way it's used in real life.
Yeah, so we've got customers, about 16,000 customers of all sizes. We've got large companies that have tens of thousands of users from multiple offices to small companies which are 10, 100 persons. So a typical company would just start off an account. So you get what's like specifically to it's branded to your name. So you would get, let's say, a eWEEK.Egnyte.com account, and you set that up with only your users, whether it's through some single sign-on or AD or anything like that, and you're good to go. So what happens is you set up an area of the internet, let's say, which is your collaboration space, and automatically a lot of things start kicking in. The data protection that we provide is almost already enabled. Some default rules are already live, for example, in terms of how you can share things with others and so on. So it's really easy to get going. Within 10 minutes, you're up and running. And then things can get more complicated, or you can dial it up as your use cases evolve.
Okay, great. The cleanliness of data and data governance has always been a favorite topic of mine, because if you think about it, data has to be clean and has to be, just free of distractions as it's going through a system. It's like the blood in your body. If your blood is impure, your body is going to probably have some issues. And it's the same thing with data, isn't it? I mean, the data has got to be clean and useful. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels sometimes.
That's true. While cleanliness is such an important part, Chris, of what you said, and I can't say it any better than you just did with that analogy.
Mhm.
But what we've been seeing is what we refer to as a data apocalypse. In that sense, where there is this growth of data that's happening. It's been growing exponentially and it's going around everywhere. So there's so much spread of data that's happening in different locations and different places. That's what is leading to some of what you said about it's the cleanliness is being destroyed a little bit just because of what we refer to as a content sprawl or a data sprawl. And that's really been accelerated with this whole current situation we find ourselves in with remote work and things like that.
Right. And so Egnyte you just sanctioned a study of IT leaders, about 400 of them, I believe, um, talking about data governance and this other thing called data sprawl that you just alluded to. And that's really a thing now, isn't it? Especially with people working at home, with companies being more distributed, employees working in remote areas now. Data is just everywhere, like you said, and everywhere means it's obviously not secured in a lot of places. Data sprawl is a real thing. It's a real problem. What are some of the highlights that you guys came up with from this study that you did about data sprawl?
Yeah, and actually, this was done by a third party that went and talked to like 400 CIOs and IT leaders about this, and that was, I mean, there are some things that you would expect, like the whole world's being forced to working remotely. So there are some things that you would expect that hey, there is suddenly a whole sprawl of devices, let's say, that people are connecting from and things like that. But what is really concerning to a lot of CIOs, and as a result, and that kind of shows up in the results of this report, is that the number of locations where people are working from, like just because they are working remotely, the different types of networks,
Mm-hmm.
and in many cases unsecured networks that they are coming from has increased. The number of devices, just because you're not always working on a company issued device, maybe you're having to borrow a laptop or a mobile device to get some work done from a family member. So that sprawl of just devices has increased. And the thing that really got me is that the number of locations where your data is ending up in, just because you couldn't get to it more easily, has increased dramatically. And that's what's really concerning the CIOs, because this is now increasing the risk of data breaches, and other things that happen that you can imagine when you've lost control of where your data is residing. So these are the top concerns that we have of this data sprawl that this report found.
Right. So this is really going to turn out to be kind of a wake-up call, hopefully, to people if they see this and realize that they've got to rein in this data that's out there and account for it all. And you do that with a platform like Egnyte and others, correct?
That, yes, we do. We realize that you can't really run everything on Egnyte, right? There are concentrations of content, right, which you would keep, like HR data needs its own HR IMS systems, and CRM data needs their own data. But I think this is a wake-up call for CIOs to realize that there are some core repositories, right? And Egnyte's really after the unstructured data that a company deals with. And many times, if there are no strong policies or even a data governance policy that's been defined, most users end up doing what's easiest for them. And that's what really causes the sprawl. And then downstream, there are these other potential issues that come up. So I think
Right.
Egnyte's a good solution from that perspective, to look at what you can do with your unstructured data, and also come up with some strong guidelines of how do you want to govern this data, like what policies do you want to put in place, and then let the system kind of do this for you, so you don't have to think about it all the time, or create too many hurdles for your end users to just do their work.
Right. Yeah. If there's a shortcut to be found, people will use it, and I'm as guilty as anybody. If I have all my shortcuts set up on my browser and set up in my apps in order to get my work done, but they might not always be the most secure way to do things, and I realize that. And so I've got to be aware of that myself. I think we all do. But I think this report is a good stake in the ground for people to think about the quality and the security of their data and what they need to do to protect it, and the data from their customers too, which is, a lot of it's personal information. So good stuff. Kris, listen, thank you very, very much for your time. And I appreciate this insight into the company, to explain the company to our readers. And the report that you guys put together is a good one. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So Kris Lahiri, who is Chief Security Officer of Egnyte. Thank you very much. And for everybody following along on this edition of eWEEK eSpeaks, have a great rest of your eWEEK. Thanks for joining us on eWEEK eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.